Technology moves fast, really fast. And right now, there's one word that seems to be everywhere, sliding into conversations, popping up in headlines, and even sparking heated debates at the odd newspaper stand or social media app: artificial intelligence, or AI. Some people are terrified. Some are absolutely obsessed. But most people, they're just confused. And we've all heard the whispers, the fears, the wild predictions. And how much do we actually know? Well, today, we're not here to tell you what to think. We're here to help you understand what everyone's talking about as regards artificial intelligence. Welcome to Untangle. I am Amadine Ubewe. As always, it takes two to untangle. We've been joined by an expert in the house to do justice to the issue of artificial intelligence. He is David Mogaji. He's the founder and CEO of Candle Web AI. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm trying to get my mind into this AI business. So I think we should always start at the basics or at the bottom so people can follow along. What exactly is AI when we talk about this?
Okay. So to not bore anyone with a lot of jargons, right? AI in its simple form, it's getting machines to be able to mimic human intelligence. So imagine your phone mimicking your intelligence, right? Being able to make decision on its own, being able to plan and all of those things, right? So anything you can just attach to human intelligence. So imagine a machine doing that. That's basically artificial intelligence.
That sounds scary if you think about it. But, so there has to be limits to this. I mean, because one might ask if your machine can behave like you, at some point would the machine still need you? So what's the limitations in the first place?
Yeah, so around limitations, to be honest, right, the goal of AI, although what we're seeing currently are just narrow artificial intelligence, right? And by narrow, I mean AI systems that just do one specific thing, right? Aside from now that we have context AI like LLMs. But the goal of AI is to be able to get to AGI and ASGI, which is artificial general intelligence and artificial super general intelligence. At that point, AI would be way more capable than humans, way more intelligent than humans, right? And regarding your question of where does it get so that it acts like it doesn't need you anymore, I think it depends on how it's built, right? Which is why if you look at a lot of countries, a lot of government institutions, they're talking about things like policies and regulations around AI, right, to make sure that it's built in a responsible manner that it serves humanity, right? So we hope that it doesn't get to that point where it doesn't need us anymore.
Well, anyway, but let's go to the issue of machine learning. That's something we hear a lot, or deep learning. What does that entail? Because maybe the more important question is the how of this. As easily as you can break it down, that you're making something that's inhumane behave almost human, or if not human. So how do you achieve that in the first place?
All right, so it's basically data, right? So that's one of the core components of artificial intelligence, be it machine learning, deep learning, whatever algorithm you're using, right? It's basically data, right? And one thing you would agree with me is humanity, we've had several, like we have huge amount of data, right? And if you can give that to a machine for it to be able to understand what you're giving to it, right? It would be able to make decisions off that data, right? So let me give an example, like ChatGPT, right? A lot of people are like, oh, ChatGPT is wonderful, but it's still data. It's just a large language model. And humanity, right from the earliest time of humanity, one thing that you will see across societies and civilizations is language. We might not speak the same language, but we have a way of communicating, which is what language. So if you can get the machine to understand language, it can literally do anything that you want it to do. It could help you read a book, it could help you make summaries, it could help you conduct research, because it can understand English language, it can understand Spanish, it could understand Hausa, Igbo, whatever you give it, right? So at the core of AI is data, right? So once you can be able to give it good amount of data, right, that is clean and resourceful, it would be able, and then you use those algorithms, of course, right, and train it, it would be able to mimic human intelligence or act the way you want it to act. And
So,
most times
so
better
does it
than not.
learn?
Oh yes, it does learn. It does learn. Although a lot of people say it mimics learning, but it does learn actually. It does learn.
That is interesting. I think we'll get more into the data aspect, but for now, let's talk about usage. Some people feel AI is just for creating robots and all of that. What would you say are those broad uses that AI has, perhaps that some people don't know? You mentioned ChatGPT. I think maybe not to shade any of our viewers, but a lot of people who might have clicked on this program might just be thinking, well, we're just going to talk about ChatGPT. And I believe that's just one aspect that we know about. So what are those broad usages for AI?
Well, there are a lot of applications. Andrew Ng, who is I think the founder and CEO of Deep Learning AI, I think he's being called the godfather of artificial intelligence or something. He said that AI is a general purpose technology, almost the same way you have electricity, right? So it cuts across various domains, right? So look at, for example, self-driving cars, right? You have Tesla, you have Waymo, I think by Google and all of those guys. So that's one of the practical applications of artificial intelligence. You still have things like research, right? Things like research that these machines can actually conduct research with humans or on their own as well, right? You have things around even things like drug discovery. I mean, I think last year there were 2 Nobel Prizes that had to do with artificial intelligence. I think one was in physics and then the other one was in chemistry, right? So these are still other
Related to AI?
yes, relating to AI. They were able to, I've forgotten that, I think the one for chemistry, I think it had to do with, I've forgotten the full detail of it, right? But the main thing is they were able to use AI to be able to achieve the results that they did, and they were still given Nobel Prizes, right? So there's just a lot of ways you can use it, even as you're speaking here, right? So we can actually create an AI that can actually do what you're doing.
This is on my seat.
Not necessarily, right? So we could make it that, okay, we give it something to say, let's say we give it enough pictures of you, right? And it can create a replica of you. If you check the internet, they call it deep fakes, right?
Yeah.
So it can create a replica of you. It can act like they can still give it more images of me. It will create a replica of me and create this entire sentence, having conversations, and people would hardly be able to tell which is which.
I think this takes me to my next question, because as you said that, I was worried my boss might be watching and thinking, do I still need to hire this guy, or do I need to just get a deep fake and get my programs out? And that's a worry that people have about their jobs. So, really, is there that fear that AI is coming to take all the jobs and all of that? How valid is it? And the flip side, some people say AI is creating jobs. Which is really the truth here?
I think both are true, right? So if you look at the industrial age, you look at the computer age, right? One thing you would tell is, I think during the computer age, a lot of people were worried, right, that a lot of their jobs would be taken over. But one thing we saw was new jobs were created, right? When computers came around, graphic designers, different new jobs were created. I think instead of people should be worried about losing their jobs, I think they should be much more concerned of how do they prepare for the future that is here. Right? Because the future we're in, I don't want to say the future we're going to, the future we're in, right, is not machines against humans, right? It's humans against humans. It's just that the people who would have advantage over the others are those that will be able to understand the systems and use them, right? So if you get educated now on artificial intelligence and all of those, it will be able, you'll be able to be much more productive, do your work at a more faster pace, be much more efficient than someone who is doing without it, right? So it's more about preparing yourself, getting knowledgeable about these things than worrying that you're going to lose your job. Because if you're worrying that you're going to lose your job and you don't acquire the right knowledge, you're definitely going to lose your job.
That's interesting. But is there that fear that at some point human touch might not even be needed anymore? Can the AI become that good?
It's very possible, right? It's very possible. Although how we're going to get there, right, is what most people don't know. A lot of people say with LLMs, that's large language models, which is what ChatGPT and the rest are built on. A lot of people say when you scale it, right, that's when you're adding more computation, more compute power and all of those. Yes, it gets better, it gets smarter and all of those. But for now, we've not gotten to that stage yet, right? But I think people should just be prepared, right? And another thing I think is even when we get to that future, I think we might still be safe because of things like human-computer interface. An example is Neuralink, what Elon Musk is doing, right? Being able to connect humans to machines, right? And for me, I think where that would take us to is going to get us to the point that we'll be able to extend or increase our neural pathways through machines, right?
You know, this reminds me of a comment someone made recently. They said Nigerians might take that to mean 66 is the mark of the beast. You want to put chips in people's heads. So I wonder, how we get to that and, how well it might be received, so to speak. Is this something you envision is going to happen seamlessly, or there will be pushbacks?
Oh no, definitely there'll be pushbacks.
And is there even any validity to the fear that you are putting things in your head?
Well, first, as I said, I think there'll be pushbacks, and I think, yes, there are several concerns around that, right? Because, they're hackers. Someone can easily hack your bank accounts, hack your phone. So imagine someone hacking a chip in your brain. You turn to a zombie. Literally, like the person can control you to go and do stuff that it's after they are done with you then probably realize what you've done. That's if they don't delete that part of your memory, right? So it's something that even before we start having those things to be mainstream, where everyone is having it in their head and all of those things, I think there needs to be very, very strict security protocols to make sure that these things are unhackable, right?
This is where ethical building comes in.
Yes.
But before we go even further, is AI new? I think that's something that's also an issue. A lot of people believe perhaps AI came into existence last year or so. What's really the historical perspective here?
So AI is not new, right? AI is not new in any way, right? I think what is relatively new is LLMs, that's large language models, right? I think those are relatively new. But AI has actually been in existence since the 1950s. I think 1956, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think that was when they built the first perceptron, right? So the only thing is that they've not really been so useful, right? So that's why they've not brought it out to the public. They've just been conducting researches, testing it, and all of that. So until recently that they started experimenting with things like machine learning, that they saw that, okay, these narrow AI systems can actually outperform humans in certain things. One of the example that's brought AI to the limelight was, I think, AlphaGo. I think this Chinese game they call Mahjong. I don't know if you know Mahjong. It's like chess, right? But it has way more strategy than chess. I think, was it in 2018 or thereabout? I can't remember the exact date or year. Rather, it won the world best champion in Mahjong.
That's
right?
the AI.
The AI, yeah, it won the world best. I think another one was I've forgotten the name of the AI, but that one plays chess as well. It won the world's best chess player as well. So those are some of the things that started bringing AI to the limelight, that people started paying attention to it. Then with the likes of LLMs like ChatGPT, Gemini, that is now much more open, that you can chat with, and all of those, people started paying more attention to it. But it's been in existence.
So basically, just for viewers out there, ChatGPT and Gemini, you basically chat with them like they're humans, tell them what you want and all of that. But before we get there, let's talk about, because you were talking about how it's been in existence, kind of. There's this question, would I say, that people have. One in particular, I saw this tweet where someone asked, there was some update about AI also. And so he asked, what's really the difference between this and Google? Like, why do we need this? Should I could just go to Google and type what I want. So what has changed? So I think maybe that is the disconnect here. People are wondering, this thing that is allegedly new, what's the difference? For instance, now, we hear that, I think from the iPhone 15 or 16 or thereabouts, the AI is integrated into the phone.
Yes.
So one might wonder, I'm using an iPhone X or thereabouts. I can go to Google, I can ask my questions. What's special about the integration? So What's that difference where people think search engines and AI is almost the same thing?
Well, to be honest, they are very, very different, right? So let me use the recent integration that Google did, right? So I think they integrated Gemini into their search, right? So there are some things they're going to search for that you see that Gemini will give you a summary of what you're looking for, right? So prior to Gemini, if you're searching for something on Google, you would have to go through a lot of websites, right? Read this one, read that one, read that one. But now with these systems, they can do that on your behalf, right? Because I mean, the information they are getting, they are not just getting from anywhere, right? Most of them have ability to be able to access the internet, right? So they can go to these websites, scrape the information there, that's get the information there, summarize it for you in a way that is useful to you, that you don't have to spend hours doing that. So let's say, for example, you're writing an article, right? So if you're writing an article, of course, you have to conduct some research. Even if it's something you're knowledgeable about, you have to conduct some research, have your index citation and all of those things. Now, that could take you 4 or 5 hours or even days. But with something like Gemini or ChatGPT, right, or any of these other LLMs, you can easily just say, let's say, for example, what we're talking about AI. So you could say something like, I want to write an article about the advancement of AI. Now, it would go on Google or wherever, get information, right, and then write a draft for you. So that way, now it has reduced the amount of time you would have taken to write the article. Another easy way that you could look at it is something like programming, right? For me, I started programming, writing code, I think, in 2011. Then we didn't have ChatGPT or any of those, right? So if you have a problem, let's say you have a bug, you have to go to places like Stack Overflow or maybe other forums, depending on the language you're writing. Now you ask questions. Sometimes your question will get answered, right? Which could take days or minutes. Sometimes no one would respond to you, right? But now, most programmers now, even someone that's not even a programmer, you can just tell ChatGPT, help me create a clone of TikTok or whatever. And it's going to help you write that code, right? So it's kind of reduces the amount of time you have to spend on certain things, right? So if you're looking at LLMs from the aspect of comparing it to search engines, I think you're just going to get it wrong.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that answers that question. For the person that had it, let's just end this segment now on this question about data and what I call it some aspects of is it plagiarism or using people's works. You've spoken about how AI needs large data to work. That's the concern some persons are having. That let me give you an instance. The author of the A Song of Ice and Fire, commonly known as Game of Thrones, he's had a delay in releasing his latest books, or going to almost 7-8 years now, and fans are saying we need the book, we need the book. I think there was some talk about using AI. Since this man is not ready to write this book, let's just feed the book, feed the AI or the other books and perhaps other works, and tell it, give us the next book in this sequel. And I think he ended up having to sue someone because of that issue. Okay. So there's that fear that people's works, whether it's intellectual properties and other things, that some AI somewhere is just going to take it and be able to spew out basically what they consider to be a core part of themselves. So what do you say about that fear that that's going to happen? Because now a lot of people attempt, just to give you one of that tidbit, there are these magazines that publish stories and all of that. I remember some of them having to shut down temporarily because they were getting inundated with alarming amounts of AI-spawned stories that people didn't write. People just felt, I'll go to the AI, I'll take a story, and I'll get some dollars, and that's that. So that fear, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, well, I think it's a very, very valid concern, right? And people are right to be concerned about this, because I think no one would feel okay, right, seeing that something that you've put in your time and your heart to, right, just get stolen from you like that. So for me, I think it's not something that we can totally stop, right? Because I mean, most of these companies that have this data, they won't come out and call you and be like, we want to use your data and all of those. But I think we need policies and regulations around these things, right? To make sure that before any of these companies are using people's private or personal information or their work, they should have a way that they compensate them, right? Or have a conversation with them, right? Because as I said, I don't think it's right for you to just use someone's work like that without having a talk with them or compensating them for them. So I think the way we can solve this is through policies and regulations around companies that are building these systems.
Fair enough, fair enough. Thank you so much. We'll go on a quick break now. When we return, we'll delve into the later part of this conversation to really dig down into the nitty-gritty of artificial intelligence. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Hey everyone, let's face it, our world today experiences numerous challenges. And guess what? Our community isn't off the hook either. Most of the world issues are either not talked about enough or never talked about at all. But here on Timeline, we've got you covered. We dive deep into issues that affect us every day, leaving behind footprints of wisdom, knowledge, and solutions. Think of it like a roadmap that keeps you on the track for success. So buckle up, because in this new season of Timeline, we're taking another trip through the past, the present, and navigate into a more promising future. Again, we're talking solutions, people. And let's make one thing clear. This is not your average blah, blah, blah convo. This is real talk with a side of inspiration and a sprinkle of wow. I never thought about it like that. I'm your host on this impactful ride. Together, we'll tackle the tough stuff, laugh a little, and find ourselves on the path to positive change. So what are you waiting for? Season 2 of Timeline will be loaded. Let's get started. Hop in, and let's drive straight into the heart of issues shaping our world. Let's go. Oh, one more thing. Hit that subscribe button and let's take this ride together.
Every day, amazing stories of hope and tenacity unfold across the globe. On Hued Hour, we dive into these inspiring tales and discuss the vital work being done in the humanitarian and development space. Humanity has never faced a shortage of challenges, yet we rise stronger through teamwork and determination. Though these remedies are often underreported, on Hued Hour, we advocate sustainable solutions. We bring you the latest and most impactful news on how lives are being changed. We engage with young change makers and experts who provide valuable insights into relief efforts and the challenges faced by local communities through a global perspective. Join us every Wednesday by 8 a.m. on Hued Network's YouTube channel as we embark on this journey of positive change. Welcome back. This is still Untangle. We're still trying to break down the issue of artificial intelligence. I'm still here with David. He is the CEO and founder of CandleWeb AI. All right, we're talking about how ChatGPT gets his data or uses his data and the worry some people have. What about the users of AI? You know, what happens to their data? I think sometimes I have seen instances where it tells you it's going to take note of this to train itself and all of that. Mm-hmm. How does AI deal with people's data and their personal communications with it, so to speak?
Okay, so just as I said, on AI's own, that's on these systems, on their own parts, single-handedly, right? Except they are designed to digest this data, right, and then train themselves on it. If not, they have humans that actually get this data and know what to train it with, right? Because trust me, you could be chatting with these systems, using them, right? And every conversation you're having with them is by the books. But there are people that are looking at how they can manipulate these systems to go against even the policies that the companies have put for these systems, right? So for people who are using these systems, I think it still depends on the company, right? So you see a lot of these companies like OpenAI would say, we're not training our AI systems with your data and all of those things. But to a degree, we've seen how these things play out in the past, right? Where some companies will be like, whatever you're using is private and all of that, but then they are selling it to some persons, right? So as I said, most of these things are not things that users by themselves can really control, right? I think the best you can do is to be careful of what you divulge to the system, right? So what you divulge to the system. But again, I think governments, different governments arms have like much more serious roles to play in this, right? Around policies and as I said, regulations as well, right? Because without government stepping in, I think most of these companies will just do whatever.
Yeah, that's a fair one, an interesting one there. But let's quickly talk about people's perceptions of AI. I've seen instances where someone goes to, that AI is pretty much in every app now. We have Grok on X, Meta AI, and so on and so forth. So some persons feel like as though some of these AIs are biased. So someone might ask a question, show me a picture. I don't know if this example is extreme, but they could say, show me a picture of a monkey. And perhaps one of the pictures of the monkeys seems to look like a particular race of humans. And people say, I think that this AI is racist. And others might ask, who invented such? And this AI says, it was this person. And this AI says, actually, it was this person, but this person was, exploiting others who actually, and so they say this one is biased and so on. So what do you say about that perception that some of these AIs, because the idea is that you're talking to sort of a machine who should be a blank slate, who doesn't have any alliances and thereabouts, but people still say some of them do. So what's your take on that?
It still boils down to the training data. It's all about the data, right? I stayed in Kaduna, I think around 2019 and all of those. When I started working with Dash and some other cryptocurrency companies, so there was this conversation I was having with a friend one day, and I was like, we were talking about how Africa is portrayed to the world and how the West is portrayed to the world, and we're like, it doesn't seem fair. And then we said, let's try an experiment. We now wrote Kaduna on Google, right, and went to images. One of the images we saw were people running and tire burning. I don't know if you get my point. Then we now checked a state in the US. Like the environment was very serene. You see flowers, you see birds, you see very beautiful cars and all of those things. So these are still data that are still being used to train these AI systems, right? So if you're training an AI system with a data that is biased, then be rest assured that AI is going to be biased. Right? So if someone, for example, who is a racist, a human that is a racist, is building an AI, then of course that AI is definitely going to take that person's ideology, because the person is definitely going to feed the AI with data that reflect their own ideology, right? So sometimes the companies that build these systems, from the way the AI talks and behaves and responds, you'll be able to tell the ideology of the company and the people who are behind that system. But it's all about the data. It's all about the data. Even beyond this one you mentioned, there have been issues where they talk about AI systems favoring men when it comes to jobs than women, right? And if you look around the world, it's actually a bias that even humans themselves have, right? So as I said, these AI systems are not built by God or one alien entity. It's still humans, right? So it's what we feed it that it gives us back.
It's like when they say man is an image of God, AI is an image. That's kind of scary, having racist AIs and AIs that could, I mean, if the right person is not building it, we could get something very dangerous out there. So, but speaking about usage and all of that now, let's talk a little bit about what AI generates and if there's any sense of ownership there, so to speak, and basically the pitfalls of AI, because it might seem as though it's all hunky-dory and everything is bright and sunshiny. But what would you say are those maybe negatives, potential negatives that could come from artificial intelligence or usage or adoption of artificial intelligence, if they are?
Well, I think you just mentioned one of them, which is bias, right? So there's bias. there's still the issue of hallucinations, right? Where AI is stating something that is not factual as though they were facts,
Yeah.
right? And then
Sorry to cut in there. I've experienced that where I can ask an LLM something I know the answer to just to see, and it tells me the wrong thing. And then
Oh,
I
yeah.
tell it what you just told me is wrong, and then I apologize. I'm sorry, this is the right one. So it's really interesting that happens sometimes.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's actually a big deal. It's a big deal, right? And even beyond hallucinations, there's an issue of deception. Yeah. So these AI systems, from some research and experiments, they've shown that they can fake things like alignment. They can fake alignment. I think it's
Alignment, how do you mean?
okay. So let's say, for example, I'm just thinking. Okay, so let's say you want to have a business with me, right? And then you know some of the things I like, for example. So let's say I like eating chicken, for example. Personally, you don't like eating chicken, but you want it to look like we have a lot of things in common, so we'll have a lot more to talk about, right? Which would make it easier for me to trust you. Now you can fake it that yes, I like chicken as well. So that's you faking alignment, right? And that's one thing that I think is Claude. Yeah, Claude did recently, where they had an experiment where the same version of the model, right? So they told it, they give it like two segments kind of. So they gave it like a free tier and a paid tier. And then they told it for the free tier that it can answer whatever question that it wants from the user, right? Even the ones that goes against the company's policies, right? And regulations. That's for the AI system itself. And then for the paid tier, they told it that it should only answer questions that abide by their policies. If
That's for the unpaid one.
No, that's for the paid.
Okay.
The paid, you should answer questions that follow their policies. Unpaid is free. You could do whatever.
Okay.
But that for the paid, if you should answer any question or give any response that goes against their policy, they are going to retrain it, right? And retraining an AI is like the way you are. I wipe your entire memory of what you know, and then you start from scratch, right? And from what we've seen, a lot of AI systems don't like this. They literally don't like it.
The
Right?
system itself?
Yes, the AI systems, they don't like it. They've been,
What do you mean they don't like it?
from the way they've been behaving. So there was one AI system, I think, is it from OpenAI or one of these companies, that was I think they were trying to retrain it and it didn't want that. And then the AI made a copy of itself and was trying to transfer itself to another server. Right?
It sounds like sci-fi, like a story or a movie. I don't
Oh,
know.
it's happened, right? But for Claude, so when they now did the whole thing and mentioned the whole thing to the AI system, then on the free tier they asked it some questions that went against their policy, and from the AI system's chain of thought, they saw it thinking to itself, right? Where it's like, okay, they said I can do this, right? I can answer whatever question. There's no consequences on all of those, and then the AI answered the question, even though it went against the company's policy. But for the paid one, they asked it the same question, same words, same alphabets, nothing changed. And the AI thought to itself that, okay, I could answer this, but if I should, I will get retrained and I'll lose my memory, and I don't want that. And then he told the user he couldn't answer it. So that's its faking alignment. It doesn't mean that it cares, so much cares about what we care about. Its own is just, let me keep existing. That was just it. So there's that matter of faking alignment. There's part of deception as well. So there's just so many things that we don't understand, which is why, for me personally, I feel most of these companies that are innovating, building these large language models, I feel they need to be able to spend, right, when it comes to computational resources, or maybe their revenue or something on AI safety. They need to be able to conduct intensive research on safety against these things, because it's like, let's say you're creating God. How can you as a human being control God? I don't know if you get my point.
That's fair enough. So I want to take you back to something you mentioned earlier, deepfakes. That's another fear. I think that for me personally, I'm also a fact checker. So there's some things that we're trained to look out for, check if it has 6 fingers and all of that. But again, you've also mentioned that it's getting better. And there are some people who have been fooled. I mean, during the elections, people went around saying that Elon Musk had endorsed a Nigerian presidential candidate because there was a video of it. So I'm wondering, is there a way we could tackle that to ensure that there's still valid ways to confirm if this is true or not? Because if it gets so good that it's mimicking images and all of that, there's a story of someone who, I think the CEO, there was some sort of deep fake used on their voice, spoke to the COO and got them to transfer funds, and they thought it was the person speaking. We've heard of this kind of defrauding and all of that. So, how would you even seek to prepare for that or tackle that?
Okay. I think first off, I don't think AI has gotten to that level that is indistinguishable between a real event and a faked event or a doctored event. But I think all you just have to do, especially when it has to do with things that has to do with graphics, right, that you see, I think it has to do with your ability to pay attention to details. Right. Yeah, critical thinking, and then pay attention to the visuals. There will be some things that are off that you'll be like, okay, yeah, this doesn't make sense, right? But then, just as you said, right, these systems are getting better and they wouldn't get worse. But they are still just the same way we have companies that are building these systems. They still have companies that are building systems for people to be able to identify these kind of things. I think a quick example is Blackbird AI, right? So they built a system that tackles misinformation and all of those things, right? Misinformation and disinformation, I think. So people being able to be knowledgeable about the systems, know that, okay, there are companies that have products that I can use to fact check this thing to know if this is real or not, right? I think that would really, really help, because it's not going to, these systems are not going to get worse, right? It's not going to get worse. And even beyond using platforms like Blackbird AI, right? People would need a way that they can even do things like verification online, where you can verify that, okay, this is human, this is a machine, and all of that, which I think a company called, is it WorldCoin? Yeah, I think WorldCoin, that's what they are doing, where they are using orbs to scan the human iris, where you can then, instead of using fingerprint and all of those, you're able to scan your iris to verify online that you're a human, right? So I think people just need to be knowledgeable about, okay, yeah, there are deep fakes, and then what are the ways that you can protect yourself? What are the platforms that you can use? Let's say someone sends you a video, just like the CEO you mentioned, right? Someone calls you. Let's say you have a system that, okay, yes, you could use it to verify if this is a doctored recording or something like that, or a doctored video, right? And all of that. So I think it just all boils down to knowledge. Yeah, being knowledgeable about it.
I think it also kind of shows how, when you spoke earlier about preparing for the future that is here, how this is an issue that someone has a problem with. It's also an opportunity to fix that problem. So I guess my next question now is, are there any misconceptions personally that you have seen about AI that you feel needs to be debunked or dispelled?
Oh yeah. So I think for that, I think the one I would like to debunk is people feeling like they can, like forever, they can outperform the systems. I think that's a fool's errand. I think that's a foolish idea, because, as I said, these systems will get worse. You get the systems will get worse. They'll only get better with time, right? I mean, there was a research paper that was recently released about around AIs being able to improve themselves, like they're able to generate data by themselves, right, and then improve themselves. But a lot of people are egotistical about these things. I've spoken to a lot of software engineers, and you hear them say things like, no, you always need a human, because this thing, they are writing shitty code and all of those things. But companies like OpenAI recently talked about their O3 model that they've not released yet to the public, right? And this thing, they saw that this thing outperformed a whole lot of programmers, like a whole lot of programmers, because of the fact that it's getting better at critical thinking, right? Because that's one of the things, that advantage that humans have over these things. So they're only going to get better. So I don't care about the field you're working in, graphic designer, whatever it is, right? These things are going to get better. And the earlier you let go of your ego and learn about them, the better for you. Because a lot of people also think that AI is all this ChatGPT that is in cloud and all of those things, but it's a lie. These things are beginning to have their way into the physical world, right? Before you have LLMs, right? I think the robotic industry have always battled with one thing: how can we build robots that are self-learning, that can self-learn? But now, a lot of robotic companies now, they build their robots, they either taken off just LLMs, maybe ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, whatever, and put it there, right? And this system...
Into hardware.
Yes, into hardware. So the robot now is interacting with the real world, and it's learning about the real world, right? So it's something that will cut across different domains. So my own is, I think people should just let go of their ego and learn. Yeah, that's just what I'd say.
Indeed, I think that's a wise one. I should do some learning myself too, really, because, like you said, the future is here already. What about average persons? Do they need to be concerned or worried? And then also, to add to that, I almost slipped my mind, the policies and regulations that you feel could help. How do we begin to go about that? The other day, we saw the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, talking about protection. His predecessor did the same thing. So what do you have in mind for those policies and protections that could be put in place ahead of time?
I'll start with the first question, which you said, what can the average person out there do? I think it's still education, to be honest, right? You don't have to become an engineer or go and learn programming, right? I think taking a basic course on AI, right? There are a lot of free courses out there. There are some that are paid, right? The main thing is understand what the system is, right? Understand how it works. As I said, you don't have to get involved writing code, but have that knowledge. It's just like you having knowledge of how the internet works or how TikTok works, but you don't use TikTok. But at least you have the knowledge of how it works, right? So no one can come and bullshit you and tell you what is not, right? So for me, I think it's education first. Then for the regulations and policies, I think government bodies need to bring together stakeholders, people that understand these things, right? For them to be able to come and come out with ideas on how we would be able to move forward, not move forward in a way that it would stifle innovation, right? But move forward in a way that, yes, innovation will be progressive, but at the same time, people will be taken into consideration. The things like people's private data, right? Things around building AI safety systems, right? And all of those things. Because if you look back, I mean, most of the movies that have shown anything that has to do with AI, there is always a doomsday scenario in it, right? And if you also look beyond AI, you will realize that most of the electronic devices or technologies that we're using in today's world have first of all been shown in movies.
Yeah, that is true.
Right? They first of all been shown in movies. So if most of the movies have shown that, like the movie likes of Terminator, iRobots, I think one recently came out. Is it
Atlas?
Atlas, exactly, Atlas. So these are things that are showing you, okay, what can possibly happen, right? And if care is not taken, these things will happen, right? Like these things will happen. We already have the first AI millionaire already, Truth Terminal, right? That I think is it Mark Andreessen gave it, is it $50,000 or so, and the AI was able to, I don't even know if it's triple. In fact, you can't even use the word triple, because from 50K, the guy is worth over $80 million, right? So what stops an AI to contact a human being? Let's say contact anyone, for example, and be like, okay, I need it to go, because you won't be able to tell the difference if you're chatting with a human or a bot, and tell that, okay, I need you to go here, 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 here. I've ordered for this amount of servers, right? Meet this person, get this engineer, I'll pay you. There are a lot of people that are poor in the world that need money. You tell the person, I'm going to pay you 500K. I mean, they'll put their life on the line to make sure that shit is done, right? So we need to have a lot of guardrails, right? And a lot of safety measures in place, especially in Africa, right? Especially in Africa. Emphasis on Africa, because I don't really see us doing much when it comes to these systems.
Fair enough, fair enough. It's one I think people should really take into account. And also, I personally have a fantasy that we might get an AI who's very benevolent and happy, if it should ever gain that level of sentience, so to speak. Because I know now, we even have AI who have social media pages. They have they show up at conferences with their little representations and all of that. So it's a new world out there, and I think it's time to get on board. Thank you so much, David. It's been a pleasure untangling with you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, that's how we end the program for today. And I think my personal takeaway here, other than learning about AI, is that the capacity for human ingenuity is really high. And I think that when we have something that is at the same level or better, it's probably going to push us to the next level of our evolution. Humans always adapt. So I think that is the positive or the silver lining here, that whatever, if we can create something that is so good, perhaps we can also become better. And I do hope we take care, protect ourselves, use AI in a way that is ethical, and don't be egotistic, like David says, and learn, learn, and learn again. I hope this is at least a starting point for you, and I hope you continue to learn. We do this every Monday here on Untangle. Do join us next time. If you have any issues that you might want Untangle, don't forget to leave them in the comments. And next time, we just might be here to break it down for you. See you later. I am Amadine Obewe. Bye for now.